Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all of you students. This is your teacher Miss Azmana and I am here with you with your week 11 home task. I hope your summer vacations went well. Let's move on. Now students, the topic that we are going to discuss today is simple past tense. Simple past tense is, as the name suggests, tells us about something that has already been done in the past or an action which is finished. Now, let's see. We use this tense to talk about things that happened in the past, as I said. For example, people rode in sedan chairs 100 years ago. Now you see students, this line 100 years ago, it tells us about, it gives a hint about the past time. And the second hint that comes from the sentence is the second form of verb. Ride is the first form and rode is the second form that we have used over here. So whenever we are going to tell our sentence, we are going to describe any sentence that has happened already in the past, we use second form of verb, and of course the indicator is always there to tell us that the sentence has taken place in the past. Another example is, people used lamps in the evenings 50 years ago. Now as I said that we are going to use the second form of verb, used, and then of course the indicator, phrase or the word 50 years ago. So this sentence tells us that it has happened in the past. Now students, while describing the simple past tense, let me tell you that sometimes the main verb is not used. That is the second form of verb. If there is no action in the sentence, we use was or were as the verb. In other words, whenever we want to describe the condition of our subject or the doer, so we do not use the main verb, that is maybe tell or maybe walk or talk, to say the second forms of these verbs. What we use are the two auxiliaries, that is was and were, as the main verb in a sentence. Was, as I said, is an auxiliary used as the main verb for the singular subjects, and were is used for the plural subjects. Now if you see these examples, I was short. Now here was is used to describe the condition of the person I or the subject I. I was short. Second example, they were happy. Now they were happy is used to describe the condition of the subject they. So was and were can be used in simple past tense to describe the condition of the subjects. Now students, when it comes to simple past tense, we need to take care of certain things, or we are supposed to know these things. First point is that this tense has only one word. There are two kinds of past tense verbs. When I say verbs, then we're supposed to have regular verbs and we may have irregular verbs. Now it is necessary to understand what are regular verbs and irregular verbs. Before I go on the other slide, I must tell you that regular verbs are those with which we just have to add some words, some meaningless words to change it from first tense to the second tense. And irregular verbs are basically those verbs in which we have to change the whole spelling to convert it into second form or the third form. So now I'm going to explain you in detail what are the regular verbs and what are the irregular verbs. Now students, as I said, simple past tense has irregular and regular verbs. I'm going to explain you what are the regular verbs and how can we make those regular verbs out of the base forms or the first forms. Now if you see the first example, if we have the base form ed, If we have the base form, we are just going to add an ed by the end of the first form to turn it into a second form. For example, walk, walked, play, played. So the only thing I added is ed by the end of such verbs to turn them into second forms. Then the second spelling rule for the verbs is any verb which is ending in e, we do not have to add ed, but we are just going to add d with it. For example, the word like is already having e at the end, so I'm just going to add a d to turn it into a second form, like and liked. Similarly, the word move is already having e at the end, so I do not have to add any other word but d to turn it into a second form. So move is turned into moved by adding just a d. Similarly, when it comes to another verb which is having a consonant and then it ends in y. So the change that we are going to make to turn it into second form is adding I plus ed, removing the y at the end. For example, the word carry and the word study. Now you see in word carry, it is ending in y and it is having a consonant before, that is r. R is the consonant, y is the ending. So I'm going to remove y, and because I have a consonant at the end before y, I'm going to add just an ied. So instead of y, I add I and then ed, the regular ed is going to be there. The word is going to turn into carried. Similarly, the word study is ending in y and it has a consonant d. So instead of y, I'm going to add I to turn it into second form and just add ed. Now the third spelling rule is whenever you have there are some verbs which are ending in a single consonant plus the second last letter is a vowel. Um, th- in that case, we are going to double the last letter plus we are going to add an ed. So example could be plan. Now in plan you see we have a consonant at the end, n, and a vowel before n, a. So we are going to double the consonant and add an ed. And similar is the case with stop. I doubled the consonant p and I added e at the end just because there was a vowel at before the consonant sound. So these were a couple of spelling rules for regular verbs and how can we make the second forms of these verbs. Now students, when I say simple past tense, we should remember that there were irregular verbs and regular verbs. I have already described you the regular verbs and the rules of spelling while writing the second forms of those verbs. Now if I talk about regular verbs, there are certain spelling rules that we need to follow to make the second forms. When there is no change in the base form, to make a second form, there are certain words like put, cut. Now put is not going to have any change in the spelling while while using it as the second form. Same is the case with cut. We are not going to change any spelling of cut to change it into the second form. Now let's talk about the second rule of spelling to make an irregular verb. Different spellings from the base form. When I say different spellings, it means it is going to have a different spelling in the second form of verb. For example, I say go. I want to change it into the second form. I'm not going to add any word to turn it into a second form. Instead, I have to change the spellings. For example, go, went. Same is the case with eat, ate, dig, dug, come, came. Let's practice certain base forms and simple past tense of the base forms. Get, got, ride, rode, use, used, travel, traveled, listen, listened, try, tried, stop, stopped, enjoy, enjoyed, light, lit. Now students, when it comes to simple past tense, We may come to know about that tense through certain hint words or phrases. For example, the word yesterday, last night, last Sunday, last year, ago. These are the words which help us understand that the sentence is being said in the simple past tense. Let's do some more practice. I sleep late last night. Last night is the indicator telling me that the sentence is in simple past tense. I'm going to use the second form of the verb sleep. Slept. He dash go to school by bus yesterday. Yesterday. I'm going to use the second form of the verb go. Went. He dash have a dancing lesson last Tuesday. Last Tuesday. Telling us it's the second form, it's the past tense. Sentence is in past tense. I'm going to use the second form of the verb have. Had. I had a dancing lesson last Tuesday. She dash watched a film yesterday. Yesterday. Watched. Learned to play the piano 5 years ago. They learned to play the piano 5 years ago. We dash make a big pizza last Sunday. Last Sunday. Made. We made a big pizza last Sunday. Past simple tense. How can we make questions? We use did to make questions. Don't change the verb after did. For example, did people watch TV 100 years ago? No, they didn't. What did Billy drink last night? He drank a cup of milk last night. We can also use was or were to make questions. For example, were they at home last night? Yes, they were. Was he happy? No, he wasn't. Thank you very much, students, for your cooperation. Hope you understood simple past tense. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.